I guess I'd use the word gentleman. He was a very gentle person. Not that he didn't have a temper, and not that he was intense, that he wasn't intense, because he was very intense. But he was a gentleman. I guess it'd be like that whirling dervish, sort of dressed as Genie in the Bottle, because she's still is and was an absolutely beautiful woman, inside and out. When he, a month later, proposed to her, he went to Simon Director, her father. And he went to Simon and said, I'd like to marry your daughter. And as my mother tells the story, and my father also, Simon said, Harold, you're a nice young man. Are you crazy? You really want to marry her? She has a temper, she's intense, she's full of energy. You're a nice young man. Have you thought this all through? Growing up, I was so lucky to have a mother at an art gallery. I'd go to the openings, I'd meet the artists, I'd go play weekends with their kids. I bought my first piece of art when I was 14, a Louis Bunt study called Sanctuary. And on the back it says, the first piece of the Schnitzer collection, bought on the night of June 23rd, 1965. It was $75. With the family discount, it was $60, and I paid my mother $5 a month. And as I've said, if I ever missed a payment, she knew where to foreclose because my bedroom was right next to theirs, okay? It's been with me ever since.
It was at the height of a recession. This site was, other than the old dilapidated Paramount Theater, there was nothing here. It was a deep recession, and the arts had no theater spaces other than the old Civic Auditorium. We had told the taxpayers we would not sell the $19 million general obligation bonds until we had raised $6 million from the private sector. Their gift put us over the top. That allowed us to sell the bonds. That gave momentum to the project.
He says, you know what, I'll do it, but I'd like to do it in honor of my wife Arlene, because she's done so much for art and culture in the community.
And they had miscalculated the weight of the sign, and with film crews running, the sign was pulled off, and the weight of it, it fell forward up Broadway, and the back wheels of the 70-ton crane were up in the air, and the crane operator jumped out of the crane. I turned to Jimmy DePriest, the symphony conductor, and I said, this isn't a very good start. And someone had said, all news is good news, and this ended up on the national news on that Sunday night.
And so, is these curtains for the old Paramount hallmark, but what a finale. Nancy Francis reporting for Newsroom 6.
I think what happened with my mother's name going on that building, it began to break loose, this fixed underplaying and undergiving in this community. It began to burst open into the sky. So others said, you know what? I'll do a Newmark Theater. I'll do a Winningstad Theater. I'll do a Swindells this. I'll do a Peter Stott this. I'll do all the wonderful things we've done. And one time when I was up there 20-something years ago, I looked up and it was in such disrepair. And I said, the column just looks terrible. And if you ever need some help figuring out how to help restore it, I'd love to tackle that. I formed a board of half Astoria people and half Portland people that had Astoria roots or cared about it. And we created Friends of Astoria column. And I've been president of that for 28 years. We've raised $3.5 million to restore it.
The city of Astoria had designed, and we were ready to go out to bid, to have some very elaborate serpentine access for those who need assistance to get to the column. And I showed this to Arlene and to Jordan. Arlene went nuts. Are you kidding me? She says, Willis, you're nuts. This is the Astoria column. When you are to enter the column and see the great monument we have here, it is meant to be approached from the front. And if people need assistance, they should not be brought up the back steps and through the back door. This is how you enter to look at this wonderful monument. What we're going to do, we will just gradually make the whole landscaping gradually go up. So everyone, disabled, if they need assistance, if they're high school athletes, we will all enter to look at the column the same way. Her idea, which Jordan likes to take credit for, but it was her idea, cost less, save us money, and it is gorgeous.
You know, there's nothing else like Confluence across the country. It's seen as one of the most ambitious public art projects in the country, and it's right here in our backyard. And it stretches from the mouth of the Columbia River and goes all the way to the Snake River, 438 miles, 6 sites in 2 states. In the end, a total of $33 million. Nothing else like it. This all started with a text from Thomas Lauderdale to Jordan Schnitzer. And there was Thomas Lauderdale on tour with Pink Martini in Europe. Jordan, here I am in Switzerland, and I'm thinking about the Confluence Project, and I really want to help Maya Lin finish this project. And I thought, I need to get in touch with Jordan Schnitzer and get him involved. And so they gave $1 million to this project. It came directly from Arlene Schnitzer in honor of Jordan Schnitzer and Thomas Lauderdale. If Jordan Schnitzer just wanted to be a philanthropist and give money, that would be one thing. But Jordan Schnitzer has a vested interest in the project itself. And so he insisted that we carve a piece of this gift to create an endowment. Public art ages, and you have to take care of it. And Jordan knew that from the beginning and insisted that we do that now. Not wait, but do it now.
This is a tribute to the contribution of the Chinese pioneers in the Northwest. When we started building the Garden of Surging Waves, it's expensive. And to get the money and to get the interest was difficult until Jordan and Arlene Schnitzer became involved in this project. When the 8 columns arrived in Astoria, one of them was broken to pieces. And the idea was, well, we got to hurry and get a new one to replace it. Jordan Schnitzer said, wait a minute. A lot of the Chinese pioneers, the Chinese immigrants had broken legs, broken bones, broken families. We don't just discard them. They stayed here, they're part of the family. We saved the broken column. And we're so glad we did. And of the 8 columns, which one do you think gets the most attention? People come over to the broken one. And they go, oh, the broken column. This is so wonderful you're able to use it. They ignore the 7 good ones. They go to this one.
I didn't know there were so many people here.
She often said when she walked into PNCA, the Museum Art School, it changed her life, it transformed her life. And the reason is that it put her in touch with her true passion, which was art. And it helped her understand that and bring, I think, a centering not just to her life, but to Harold's and eventually Jordan's life as well.
And now to see this building, I mean, what a thrill. So to everybody who had a role in creating this space and having faith in what the arts can bring to a community.
She's been involved with PNCA and the Art Museum here for decades. And we worked hard to get that federal building to PNCA, and then folks gave the league gift about 1/3 of the money that was raised to help ensure that brilliant design by Brad Clofield.
The arts really are what make the soul of the community move forward for generations. So thank you so much.
And I'm so appreciative of what she's done for me, because art's such a big part of my life. But for her being that gatekeeper that opened that door, I might not have the passion I have for the arts, and it's meant so much to me.
So we are in the Harold and Arlene Schnitzer Gallery, which is part of the new addition. that Jordan was responsible for that opened in 2005. Jordan is probably, if not the #1 in the top ranks of contemporary print collectors in the United States. He has a collection that's probably approaching 8,000 works and has huge depth in certain artists, including Andy Warhol, Ellsworth Kelly, many, many others. But this is a space that really houses a lot of our permanent collection too, that's in Pacific Northwest art, which of course was the passion of Arlene Schnitzer. And a couple years ago, we were able to show a selection from Arlene Schnitzer's esteemed collection from the Fountain Gallery. So in fact, both Schnitzers have been instrumental in helping us fulfill our mission.
It was wonderful to work with him all those years. I'm so indebted to the mentoring, the fact he gave me a lot of rope to make a lot of mistakes, and then also let me flourish and sort of take what he had built to a whole nother level. This was intriguing when it was designed. It was a 6-story atrium. But when you came in here, it went up 6 stories, you thought it went on forever. And I didn't feel it had the intimacy. So I began working with the architects. We worked with GBD Interior Architects on this and said, let's bring down the scale of this to make it more humanized. I always focus on human scale, because this is all about people. These bricks and mortar, the carpet, the granite, this is all about the experience of who's going to use the building and the sense of arrival.
Jordan's company owns a building in San Francisco, and so it's the Sutter building. It's an amazing example of Art Deco architecture. And Jordan really wanted to honor the architecture and not necessarily copy it, but be respectful of the significance of this building in San Francisco and what it stood for as far as historically. When you work with Jordan, he really wants you to challenge the solution and the possibilities. I think probably the failure of others who worked in this building just didn't take it far enough. Jordan actually appreciates that. He appreciates you pushing the envelope and, you know, seeing the bigger picture, because I think that's what he sees.
There was some talk of people buying this building and tearing it down, and I thought, you can't do that. We don't have that many gem buildings. So we bought this. We worked with Hannaberry Eddy, and this is a jewel. On projects we get involved with, we may take a little longer than some developers, but when you're lucky enough to work on something like this, you can't screw it up. I don't want that on my reputation and my legacy. This is where the public came to go to the Federal Reserve, and we kept the entrance, and we really kept the space open, gave it that creative look, and we're delighted that the architectural firm is here and loves the space. This was the original floor, we kept it. I think this is an example of how you can readapt a building to current uses, but still honoring the past. Both parents talked a lot about how this was their village. This was their home. There's something about when you've grown up in a place that you feel a real sense of responsibility. Why? Because that place is what nurtured you. And as I've often said, we stand upon the shoulders of those who've come before us. We build upon their legacies. We take up that mantle of responsibility, because a community is a bunch of acres. And you got a bunch of buildings. But those buildings, those homes, they have no soul without the people in the community that make it alive.
Everything at the column isn't perfect. Jordan was in charge of the pavers. He put mine in upside down. I can't believe it. Upside down. Jordan, I still come up daily and clean it. Jeff Gianola just asked me, did Jordan really put your paver in upside down on purpose? Hell yes, he put it upside down on purpose. Yeah.